Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
The San Diego Padres are in Los Angeles tonight playing a winner-takes-all Game 5 against the Dodgers. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The Friar faithful are cheering on the team from home and at watch parties across the county. And KPBS reporter Katie Anastas is live at Petco Park, where fans are gathering to watch the Padres on the big screen. Katie.
Hi, Maya. We're just a few minutes away from the starting pitch, and behind me you can see there are lots of fans here at Gallagher Square. It's a sold-out watch party tonight, and the gates opened about an hour ago, and people were running to their seats. People are getting their snacks and their drinks and ready to have a good time tonight. Yu Darvish will be the Padres' starting pitcher tonight, while Yoshinobu Yamamoto will be the Dodgers. Darvish was the starting pitcher in Game 2 when the Padres won 10-2. Tonight's game follows the Dodgers' 8-0 win against the Padres on Wednesday night. And earlier this afternoon, I spoke to Ryan Doriguzzi. He was at Wednesday's night game, and he says Padres fans kept their spirits high.
It was a tough watch, but it was great seeing the energy of the Padre fans still keeping it alive, even 8-0. We're still chanting Padres, still chanting for the team.
And tonight's winner will face the New York Mets for a spot in the World Series. Live at Petco Park, I'm Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
And in addition to the watch parties happening around town, some fans are trekking to Los Angeles to cheer on the Padres at Dodgers Stadium. We found one Solana Beach fan skipping traffic by taking the train. He says the game should be exciting.
You know, Game 4 was pretty great. Game 3 was great here, so it's Game 5. It's kind of like a Game 7, pretty much, since there's only 5 games in the series. So just want to check it out and give the Padres some support.
He's at the wall. It is.
And when the Padres were at Dodger Stadium last Sunday, LA fans threw balls and trash on the field, causing a 12-minute delay of the game. Christopher says he doesn't think fans will be as rowdy this time.
Well, much like we had last night into this morning, there will be the chance for some areas of fog. So make sure you allow some extra time as you're venturing out tomorrow morning. But low 60 degrees tonight with some of those coastal clouds coming in. We'll see how the forecast changes into the weekend coming up.
In Florida and across much of the southeast, the storms have passed, but the recovery is just beginning. But help is on the way. Maribel Gonzalez has more.
Double destruction in the Sunshine State.
I think the complicating factor here is going to be there's 2 storms.
Hurricane Helene made landfall in Florida as a deadly Category 4 hurricane, carving a 500-mile path of destruction across 6 states. Then Milton hit as a Category 3 storm, bringing tornadoes, torrential rain, and storm surge.
And having 2 major hurricanes in less than 3 weeks has really decimated our downtown area.
In Valrico, Hillsborough County deputies are still evacuating people from flooded homes.
We're 6 feet deep. We have some people who believe that it might get as high as 20 feet.
In Pinellas County, hundreds remain in shelters, some who've been there for weeks.
We have over 170 people that have actually been in shelters with us since Hurricane Helene.
The rescues and relief pouring in.
Our available force represents the largest National Guard response in Florida.
We have an additional $50 million on top of what we did for Hurricane Helene.
FEMA says people will need to apply for separate hurricane relief for each storm.
We're just going to have to continue to work with each person as they're working through understanding what they experienced from Helene, what they experienced from Milton, so they can get everything that they're eligible for.
While victims assess the damage left behind, moments of hope and resilience begin to emerge.
We had a beautiful baby girl that was born in one of our shelters. Our shelter staff helped with the delivery.
Maribel Gonzalez, KPBS News.
It's been 7 years, but the city of San Diego has finally settled a class action lawsuit over people sheltering in their cars and RVs. In 2017, a group of unsheltered people and homeless advocacy groups sued the city of San Diego over its vehicle habitation ordinance. And under that law, people living in their cars and RVs could face fines or even have their vehicles impounded. A lawyer for the plaintiffs says tickets will be dismissed and other enforcement actions will also stop.
The city cannot enforce those two ordinances against folks who find themselves living in their vehicles if there are no alternative parking options. Another benefit long-term is improvements to the safe parking lots in San Diego, particularly the Mission Valley lot.
The plaintiff's lawyer says it took 7 years to reach the settlement because of complicated issues surrounding the city's vehicle habitation laws. The city attorney issued a statement saying in part that this measure will result in more unhoused individuals finding the support they need through the Safe Lot program. The first over-the-counter at-home COVID-19 and flu test combo will be available around Thanksgiving. The FDA approved the test this week. KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco says this is a critical tool for seniors.
The new nasal swab test will give older adults quick information about their health and help them and others decide if it's safe to gather.
And so they have put off traveling to see family and friends. They've restricted even holiday gatherings, whether it's a Thanksgiving or Christmas meal, because they are concerned about who they might be interacting.
The Center for Disease Control reports that in recent years, around 80% of flu-related deaths have been among people 65 and older. In the first half of 2023, the same population accounted for nearly 90% of COVID-related deaths.
COVID is just as bad, if not worse, than flu, but both kill a lot of people, and we're still seeing deaths even now after, all these variants.
It's the first combined home COVID and flu test authorized to be marketed outside emergency use. It provides results in 15 minutes and can be used by anyone as young as 2 with adult supervision. Sharp family medicine doctor Jotu Sandhu says the ability to test at home without a prescription can help seniors avoid unnecessary trips to urgent care.
But just being there, you're exposing other people. And so that in and of itself is a risk. And then when, healthcare personnel get sick, that turns into a burden on everybody else.
Paul Downey with Serving Seniors says many older adults are still fearful.
We see a lot of folks that still are experiencing social isolation since COVID. So if this gives just one person peace of mind that he or she can go out into the world, it's done its job.
The manufacturer says the test will be between $13 and $16. They will be available by the end of November, just in time for the holiday season. Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to walk on a freeway? As KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen shows us, you can find out tomorrow at a special event in Southcrest.
From 10 to 12:30 tomorrow, Caltrans will be closing the 43rd Street on and off ramps to the 805 freeway, and the space will be opened to bikes and pedestrians with music, art, even a fashion show. The goal is to help San Diegans reimagine the space as a neighborhood. The ramps were built in the 1970s to be the start of Highway 252, a freeway that Caltrans ultimately scrapped in the face of community opposition. Janice Luna Reynoso is executive director of Mundo Gardens, a nonprofit that's advising Caltrans on the area's redevelopment.
We want to imagine what these 50 acres at the 43rd Street ramps would look like if it is returned to the community for community benefit. And so as we walk through the space, we realize how large it is, how vast and also how big our imagination can go on what we would like to see there.
There is precedent for San Diego turning a freeway back into a neighborhood. Starting in the 90s, the 66 acres that were set aside for Highway 252 were gradually redeveloped into housing, parks, an elementary school, and a shopping center. Luna Reynoso says it's time to finish the job and return the 43rd Street ramps to the community.
We want the next generation to see that it is possible. They may have to carry it forward as well as enjoy the benefits of that, because there is work to do in healing our community from divisive infrastructure.
A similar freeway closure event was held on State Route 15 last year. You can find more details on Saturday's event, including the best way to get there, at kpbs.org. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
And Andrew has covered the story of our freeways extensively with his podcast, Freeway Exit. It's available on all major streaming platforms and at kpbs.org. There are less than 4 weeks left before Election Day, and the Battleground sprint is about to kick into overdrive. Karen Kafa has a look at the big political names hitting the trail and the campaign road map ahead.
Every vote counts, but voters in 2024's key battleground states can expect a little more attention between now and November 5th.
Thank you, Pennsylvania.
The candidates are becoming more frequent flyers to Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, zeroing in on the issues they feel will resonate most with each state's voters, like the economy and manufacturing in Michigan.
We will ensure that the next generation of breakthroughs, from advanced batteries to electric vehicles, are not only invented but built right here.
I intend for the triumph of the American auto industry to be among my greatest legacies. I want it to be a legacy.
And immigration in Arizona.
We ought to focus on our own people and put their interests first. That's what the American leadership exists for.
This issue should not divide us, it should unite us.
And getting help from high-profile allies like former President Barack Obama's first campaign stop for Vice President Kamala Harris in Pittsburgh Thursday.
She doesn't have concepts for a plan. She has an actual plan to make your life better.
On Wednesday, former President Donald Trump said no to another debate with Harris before Election Day. That means no more head-to-head events.
We don't have a tentpole event between now and the end, between now and the finish line.
And leaves candidates to put their ground games to the test. At the White House, I'm Karen Kafa.
Locally, one of the most consequential elections is for county supervisor. The winner in District 3 will have a big influence in how the region's top issues are handled. Will voters choose to stick with the current approach or give conservatives more of a say? KPBS reporter John Carroll looks at the candidates.
If you live in any of these locations, you're in San Diego County's District 3, and you have a choice this election whether to keep your current county supervisor or elect a new one. Tara Lawson-Remer is the current board member running for a second term.
I'm a surfer, I'm a mom, and making sure we have clean water and a healthy environment is absolutely my top priority.
Other big topics are affordable housing and homelessness.
When I was elected, we had 0 county-supported shelter beds. Countywide, we now have over 900.
Lawson-Remer says she supports banning encampments as long as the focus is on getting people the help they need to get off the streets. Mental health care and bringing down gun violence are also high on her to-do list. She's being challenged by former San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer.
Welcome to Remerville. And the heart of our supervisor district.
We tried numerous times in different ways to get an interview with Faulconer, but we never heard back. His campaign website says he will aggressively build shelters and encourage builders to create neighborhood-appropriate housing. He also promises to protect the environment and make it less annoying for people to work with the government. The Board of Supervisors is nonpartisan, but Lawson-Remer's election in 2020 made it majority Democrat. Faulconer is a Republican, and if he is elected, the board would go back to Republican control. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Forced labor for prisoners is one of the last vestiges of slavery in California. Voters can remedy that with this constitutional amendment. Cal Matters reporter Wendy Fry explains Prop 6.
California banned slavery when it became a state, but it made an exception. From the beginning, California in its constitution has allowed forced labor as a form of criminal punishment. Today, tens of thousands of prison inmates all over the state are working in a variety of jobs, from firefighters to cooks, for very little pay. That could change if voters pass a ballot measure this November that would change the state constitution to ban any kind of forced work. I'm Wendy Fry, reporter for Cal Matters, and this is Proposition 6 in a minute. Californians are talking about ending forced labor in prisons in part because of the state's reparations task force. That committee was appointed in 2020 to investigate the harmful and long-lasting effects of enslavement on African Americans. It recommended banning forced labor as a way to erase enslavement from the state's founding document. Proposition 6 would amend the California Constitution to prohibit the state from punishing inmates with involuntary work assignments and from disciplining those who refuse to work. There is some uncertainty about how the measure would affect the state budget and prison work programs. Experts say it could open the door to forcing the state to pay more money to inmates with jobs. Today, most of them earn less than 74 cents an hour. Supporters say it's important for voters to put an end to forced labor 174 years after California joined the Union as a free state. They also say the state can avoid the cost of higher inmate pay by creating voluntary prison work programs. There's no registered opposition to the measure. A handful of Republican lawmakers voted against placing the measure on the ballot. Some have raised concerns about the potential cost of raising inmate pay. So vote yes if you want to forbid the state from forcing prison inmates to work. Vote no if you want to keep things the way they are. To learn more about everything on your 2024 ballot, go to calmatters.org.
And if you'd like to learn more about what's on the November ballot, we've got you covered. Just go to kpbs.org/voterhub. A local sign painter went viral on TikTok while applying for a major artist residency, bringing attention to a timeless trade. KPBS arts reporter Julia Dixon-Evans explores how his videos and art continue to capture the fascination of millions.
I need to make a change in my life, so I'm applying for an artist residency. This is how I did it.
This story starts with an old suitcase and a sign painter who had, in his words, the audacity to try. Koi-san wanted his artist residency application to be really memorable. Instead of just sending in a flash drive of his portfolio, he elaborately painted a vintage suitcase in the style of retro sign painters.
I mean, this is why I did the suitcase, was because I didn't really have a lot of pieces. Like I had this, I had the building that I painted, and then I had this like hot dog cart like I painted over, and this. And so that was like the extent of my painting during the time. And I was like, I don't know if they're gonna let me in just from that alone. So it's why I made the video and it's why I made the suitcase, to be like, hey, like, I don't have a lot going on right now, but I can promise you that I'll be making a lot of stuff soon.
Son's video has since been seen by millions of people. Go a little further back, where his story starts with his parents' Thai restaurant in Sereno Valley.
About 2 years ago, my parents were opening up a new restaurant, and I was just kind of warming up to the idea of taking myself seriously as a sign painter. And so I was like, oh, let me paint a sign about it, and let me try to make a video.
After several years of painting signs and making content online, he grew out of his garage workspace. He pursued the Impact Artist Residency at Bread and Salt, which houses galleries and artist studios in Logan Heights. Now, his art appears in prestigious art spaces as well as storefronts, but he prefers the latter.
Sign painting as a trade was actually one of the first reasons that I got so interested in it, is that I liked how it used to be kind of like a normal job. As a trade, it wasn't that different from a plumber or a mechanic or something like that. And what I love about sign painting is the mix of trade in how I can functionally help people while still being artsy and doing design and having fun and being silly.
Arzu Ozkal, a professor of graphic design at San Diego State University, says sign painting's place in art history goes way back to scratching things on cave walls.
Eventually, we developed the alphabetical systems and the substrates to write on. and then it became an artistic expression.
She says the attraction to art like Sun's parallels a nostalgia for hand-lettered signs and shopkeepers who knew our names.
There's a connection with how dissatisfied we are with the society that we built for ourselves and how everything now looks. You go to Costco, everything looks the same. Everything has, primary colors and shouting on your face, with sans serif font.
Sun's dedication to serving his community has only grown as his videos turned into real income. You can find his signs peppered around town, like at White Rice Bodega in Normal Heights and at Sandpeb Barbershop in City Heights. He had ambitious plans for the 3-month-long residency, hoping to paint massive signs and complete big projects.
The pressure of the video and the story, like I gotta make sure my lore is as interesting for TikTok.
But instead, he spent a lot of his time meeting people, collecting their stories, and collaborating on small pieces, and he's okay with that.
I've kind of settled on the idea of taking my time with whatever I'm painting, whether or not it's impressive or not, and focus more on just kind of individually interacting with people. Because that's the magic of being here, I think.
Julia Dixon-Evans, KPBS News.
And sign painter Khoi Sun will open his studio at Bread and Salt tomorrow night, and he'll be in residence there through the end of October.
I've got an exciting news because we are going to be shaking things up in the weather department. First up, though, we had some fog out there this morning. I do think that's likely to occur again as we head through tonight and even more so possibly into Sunday morning. So be aware of that as we head through the weekend. Beyond that, though, we are easing out of the warmth. The big exciting news for a lot of those numbers, especially for the mountains and deserts, to work their way on down. So some great news there. Cooler trend will actually take hold even into a late next week. We'll see those numbers go down even a little bit more. So let's break it down for you. First off tonight, again, watch out for some of those areas of fog. We did even see a little bit of that try to push in towards Ocean County. So again, there will be some challenges there, but Escondido coming in at 54 degrees for the low. City holding on to 60 degrees for the low. And as you work your way inland there, Ramona holding on to 49 for the low there. Transitioning through tomorrow. Bright setup for your weekend once we get past those morning clouds. 73 for the high in San Diego as we work our way towards Mount Laguna, upper 60s, and Borrego Springs still in the triple digits, but we're down from where we've been for a lot of the previous days through September and October. So that's some good news so far. As we transition through the coastal locations, we'll hold on to the 70s. That doesn't fluctuate much just due to our presence of the water and those marine layers each morning. As you get inland, though, you'll find those numbers do go down a little bit from the mid 80s on Saturday, Sunday back to the lower 80s, and then by Monday, welcome to the 70s again. That will feel pretty nice as you head out and about for the afternoon. All the while, it still comes with some morning clouds transitioning to afternoon sunshine. Mountain locations coming up for the next few days. We're going to be through the 60s, but it's a difference from the upper 60s to the lower 60s by the time we get into Wednesday. That'll feel refreshing, and we will have some clouds to contend with too as we get towards the later part of the week, so that's something to keep in mind. But look at the desert here. It's going to be easing out of that heat by Wednesday. Some more clouds, temperatures in the mid 80s. There'll be some questions as to if we see any precipitation towards the later part of next week. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constancer.
Today, Apple TV Plus debuts the documentary The Last of the Sea Women. KPBS cinema junkie Beth Accomando says you'll get to meet a band of feisty women warriors, often called real-life mermaids.
On South Korea's Jeju Island, a group of women have been diving to the ocean floor without oxygen tanks for generations to harvest seafood. These divers, known as Henyo, are now almost exclusively seniors, some in their 90s. Filmmaker Sue Kim remembers being 8 years old and seeing them for the first time.
I just remember being so taken with them at such a young age. They were in their wetsuits and they were walking into the water, and they were so loud but so bold and confident and fun and vibrant. And They just made such an impression on me. They really imprinted on me as kind of a new model of womanhood that I could aspire to. You know, I didn't have to be just demure and pretty. I could be strong and empowered and loud and funny.
But the Haenyeo way of life is in danger of disappearing, and that prompted Kim to make the last of the Sea Women.
Off the coast of South Korea, a neighboring country is beginning the release of radioactive wastewater into the ocean.
It transitioned into an urgent imperative to document and memorialize them before they weren't around anymore. So that was really the genesis of this film. And then it was basically a lifelong obsession that turned into an urgent mandate now that they're on the verge of extinction.
Producer Malayla Yousafzai knew this was the perfect project for her new production company.
I believe that this was a story that we needed to tell because it's one of the few matriarchal societies in the world. They are talking about very urgent and relevant issues as well. But at the same time, you know, these women are fierce and strong and bold and resilient, and they have such a strong community. I thought that this is, you know, their stories could inspire so many women and girls out there.
Through the shoot, Kim discovered how caring the Haenyeo were.
So I knew that they were super cool and tough and strong and empowered. But once we actually started filming with them, we were always so warmly welcomed by them, and they were constantly breaking the fourth wall when we're filming them. Like, we would be filming them and trying to be observational, fly on the walls, and instead they'd come over and feed our camera operators and our cinematographers the sea urchins that they had caught that morning. So we were, even though it was a little bit disruptive to the filming, we'd have to stop filming and then accept the kind and generous food that they were trying to feed us. It was so touching to see that was how they were caring for us. And I didn't expect that kind of warmth and like nurturing grandmotherly behavior from them. So it was so nice.
You can experience that nurturing vibe with Kim's The Last of the Sea Women, an intimate portrait of these amazing women who offer a joyous sense of empowerment. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
I'll be watching that. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya C. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.